Life with Liliana and Friends.
Bulawinaka, and welcome to this evening's episode of Life with Liliana and Friends. We're in season 5, and I hope most of you have been following on the episodes that we've done already. We have spoken to my daughter, we've spoken to Letitia last week, and a lot of our conversations had centered around the topic of trauma. Now, the reason why, for those who haven't been following, the reason why we're talking about trauma is because a lot of the spaces that I've been involved in the past few months, what I found is a lot of the root cause of the issues, the social issues that we're finding, is trauma. And we've learned also that all of us, pretty much all of us, go through trauma, and it comes out in our behavior if it is unresolved. So it's been quite an interesting journey. Now, last week, like I mentioned, we spoke to Letitia, and Letitia has worked with sex workers and young women and that community for over 20 years. She's based in Toowoomba in Brisbane. So I invited her in to just understand a little bit more about what she's doing, but learning from what I found so far in Fiji and seeing how it correlates, what are some of the solutions, I guess, what are some of the things that we need to be aware of. And so if you haven't watched it, please go and have a watch. But also, if you are not following my public page, Liliana Pareti Warid, I'd encourage you to go and follow that page and just catch up on what we've been doing in these spaces, okay? So now we're in a place where we'd love to come up with some solutions to support this community. Now, I have been spending quite a bit of time at the Safe House. I refer to it as the Safe House. It comes under the banner SAN, which is a Survivor Advocacy Network, and I've made a really good friend there. And she is here this evening to come and talk to us. Bulawinaka Mbui, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Bulawinaka Liliana.
You know, I'm so thankful for Mbui because she has been so patient with me. She's so full of grace. She's answered all of my silly questions. And so we've spent quite a bit of time together. And together we've come up with some things. We've tried to implement. We've tested some things. But Mbui herself is an ex-sex worker. She's now in her 50s. And she pretty much dedicates her life to the welfare or to the safety of those who are currently in the industry. So first of all, I just want to invite viewers to just watch with an open mind. And just really, I think it's important that we hear from Mbui and others because it really puts a face behind what we would otherwise know as a statistic or just an industry or profession or whatever. So we're going to humanize this and talk to Mbui a little bit more about not only her experience, but maybe what we can do together as a community. Eh? So Mbui, why don't we start from here, Tadingu? Why don't you just share with us a bit about yourself, where you're from, what your upbringing was like, so that our viewers can understand that side.
Bulawinaka Liliana. My name is Sesenieli Naitala. I'm from originally from Ra, and my mom from Kandawu. I brought up in a broken family. My dad and my mom divorced when I was still 7 months, pregnant with me. And yes, I brought up in religious family. My guardians, they used to do ministerial work for churches, and all along I didn't realize that I was not their real child, and that's one of the difficult situations that I faced. I remember when I was still young, 9 years old, when we used to play around, and the kids always, say, "Oh, you're not from Kandawu, you're from Ra," and that's one of the things that challenged me, and I always ask questions.
Right.
That's one of the things that always hurt me all along, causes me a lot of peer pressure, and sometimes it's traumatized me verbally when My real family too, some of my cousins, they always, bully and say, oh, you're not originally from this village, and you have your real parents, this and that.
Right.
That's some of the things that I faced when I was young.
Right. So how old were you when you were adopted?
I was 3 days old.
Okay.
The reason why I was adopted, because of my mom. My mom was, going through that process of broken heart. My dad had an affair again and eloped with my stepmother, so my mom was there as a single mother.
Okay.
And she, got that I think trauma too. She go through a lot of trauma and stress. Being a single mom, and she was that time she was working at the first recruitment of the staff in a Holiday Inn. It was way back in 1968. They were the first staff that was recruited. That was travel lodge.
Right.
Yeah. And she was thinking to, adopt me, to give me away.
Right.
That's why.
So do you have siblings from your mother has other children? Your real mom?
Yes, my for me, I have an elder brother than me.
Okay.
And my dad have other 3 siblings,
Right.
and my mom have another 2. They got
Right.
married again.
Okay. So your adoptive family is related to your mom?
Yes,
It's-
it's my mom's elder sister.
Oh, okay. So your Nana Levo adopted you.
Yeah.
But your family you were adopted into was very loving.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's interesting. So the way you heard about your adoption was from the other children, not from them. And then you went back to ask. Yes, when they were teasing you on the playground.
No, the thing is, my adopted parents, then I questioned them.
Right. After you heard it from the
Yeah,
kids.
from the kids.
Right.
When we always play around, and we have some ugliness going on, and they start
Yes.
to say, "Oh, you're not these two kids." Yeah.
Right.
That's how it started.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, sis, I'm just trying to understand, because as a child, how did that make you feel? Did that make you feel like you were not wanted, or did not belong there, or why did it make you feel so angry and
Well, for
disturbed
me,
emotion?
I got pissed off.
Okay. Right.
And I look at myself as that's not my real parents.
Right.
And the way they love me and care me,
Yes.
something that hurts me, because
Okay.
I can say that they are my parents, because
Okay.
my real biological parents is no.
Wow.
I didn't even know them. I didn't even see them.
Yes.
But I remember when I was small, when we have the family court, and they took me. We have
Okay.
a family court with my real parents.
Right.
And sometimes the court order always say, I have to spend 6 months with my dad and 6 months
Right.
with my mom. So
Right.
that's how it goes. And most of the time, when I have to spend time with my mom, I spend time with my adopted parents.
Oh, okay. This is very interesting to me, because there's a lot of children who are like that, who are given to, the sister or the brother. And we don't even think about, how to tell them or how to. But when your story, when it comes out like that, that's, even now as an adult in your 50s, you can still remember that hurt and how it made you feel, yeah?
Yes.
That, even though they loved you, but it's almost like, is this fake, or are we pretending, like the mind of a child. So thank you for sharing that, sis. So, going on, you were living in opposite St. Giles, down Reservoir Road, that
Yes.
settlement, And so, of course, living in settlements come with its own, challenges, especially as a young person growing up there. So you have pretty much spent your whole adult life in the sex industry as a sex worker. Eh? So tell us a bit about can you share how you got into that in the first place?
Um, when I was in primary school, I lived with my guardians.
Right.
When I reached the secondary level, and my real mom came to came back and come and want to take me back to live with them in Reservoir Road.
Right.
Yeah, so the upbringing was different, eh?
I see.
And they look at me as an elder in the family,
Right.
especially
Because they got younger siblings.
Yeah. And my real dad was living on top with my stepmother,
Oh, yeah.
and my real mom living down below, just like neighbor.
Right.
Yeah. With my stepfather.
Okay.
Yeah, and my other two siblings,
Sorry.
and my real dad and my mom living on top with my other sibling. For me, it's kind of difficult, because I have to have. Sometimes I spend time with my mom and my stepfather on top, down below, and more time I have to go and stay with my
Your
dad and my stepmother.
Okay.
So it's very difficult for me, as an eldest.
Right.
Yeah, and I was so confused in so many
Right.
ways. Yeah,
Right.
and sometimes it's a conflict. Sometimes my mom always say, "Don't go up there."
Okay.
But no, they can't stop me because my
Yes.
real dad is there.
That's right. That's
And,
right.
That the peer pressure start to build up. Yeah. And I'm sort of confused, whether to listen to my dad's family or to my mom's family.
So then you had your group of friends. And is it that group of friends that introduced you to sex work?
If you know Reservoir Road, the other side we have playground where we always play volleyball.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
So a friend of mine is a neighbor. She already been in industry, and she came by with another Asian friend,
Okay.
and they came and bringing beers.
So this must be a client.
Yeah,
Like a client.
And we were playing volleyball, and they say, "Hey, come and have one glass." That time, that time I left school.
How old were you then?
I was 18.
18,
Yeah.
okay.
So I, enjoy the autonomies of it, and
Yes.
sit and have one glass and keep
2
on.
glass, 3 glass.
3 glass,
Yeah.
4 glass, carry on, hop in the taxi and,
Joyride to the
ride.
nightclub.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in the afternoon, she invited me, okay, we go to this hotel. That used to be Ocean View. So they book.
But boy Kusinkilachiko, you didn't know that this was what she was doing, or you
Yes.
kind of already
No,
heard?
I didn't know.
Or you thought her friend buying your beer and
Yeah.
then you're going to drink some more in Ocean View. Okay.
So we went to Ocean View and spent the whole afternoon Talanoa and drinking away, and she invited me to go to the nightclub. The first nightclub that we entered was Dragon,
Right.
Yeah. So we went there, and I look at the people, there's so many pretty young girls and the Asian, and I started asking myself, what's going on now, And she started to explain to me about this is this and this, and this is how we work with the Asian people. But that time, majority of the Asian people was
Right. Coming in on the fishing boat.
fishing boat. Yeah.
That time, eh?
That time.
That was 80s?
90s.
90s.
The 90s.
Okay. Okay.
So, who's gonna reject? The beer is there,
That's right.
the drugs is there, everything is there, the money is there.
So, when you're explaining it like that, it's like the young girl, it's not like saying, okay, today I'm going to be a sex worker. It's not like that. Eh? Like you're just in the club, people are buying drinks, and then somebody says, oh, they'll buy drinks, and then, you'll get a bit of extra money for your whatever. So, it's just a very simple, easy kind of thing if you are drinking already in that circle.
Yes.
For those of us who are not in the industry, we think very differently about sex workers. But it sounds like going into it is not a big thing. It's just partying, extension of the party, and then you end up like that. And then you are called a sex worker. Yeah? Interesting. So you were just talking about the clients, and this is very interesting to me. So you said back then, mostly Chinese that come on the fishing boats, and we know a common term that we use is kambawanga,
Yes.
referring to the sex workers that frequent the boats. But now it's very different, because now it seems like the clients are the domestic, local. Is that right? Is
Yes.
that would you say that? What is the difference in the clients now compared to the time when you?
Well, nowadays, the clients nowadays is anyone.
Right.
Either Fijian or Indian or
Any age,
any age category.
gender,
Gender.
male, female
Yes.
clients.
Yes. That's a different, And
Yes.
before, what I can see is, before the sex workers, we, hardly come out, We hide ourselves because we always frightened when people or family will see us and say,
Right.
hey, that one is
Right.
before we always say, that one is a garu.
Right.
That one is like prostitute,
Right.
Before they always use that word prostitute, not
Okay.
sex workers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for us, when we hear the prostitute, we know, oh, this one bad girl, doing bad things, Yeah. But this time, I think maybe because of the human right, people think that it's their right.
Right.
Especially the young ones.
Right. What they do with their bodies
Is their
right,
business.
Yes.
And before, we never expose ourselves
Right.
on the street.
Yes.
Yeah, we always stay in the hotel. We have certain time to come out, certain time to go in the hotel. That time, 1 o'clock, the nightclub closes.
Right.
Yeah. Now the nightclub is open till
It's
morning.
open.
So that's the
Yes.
one of the difference that what
Yes.
happened during that time and this time.
Right. So you mentioned because in the nightclubs, so most of all of this happens in the nightclub. So now what I've learned from talking to you is there's a nightclub, there's people on the streets,
Yes.
but is it right to say that the biggest number just happens online?
Yes.
Yes, because how many sex workers do you think we have in Fiji? Can you even put a number if you were to guess, or what is?
Well, for my members, I can say more than 500.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Those-
just for you in
yeah.
this small part of the.
Yeah. But those that don't identify themselves as a sex workers, but doing the same thing like sex workers
Right.
are out there,
Right.
they never identify themselves as sex workers. It's huge.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just being the definition of getting paid or getting something in return for
Yes.
sex is even like everyday people
Yes.
who are working, who
Yes.
go out to a club, somebody buys your drinks, go and have stay the night with that person, give you some money for taxi fare,
Yes. Can be taxi fare, can
Oh.
be drinks,
right?
can be the loloma, bangle or
Interesting.
chain
Yeah.
or watch or clothes. Yeah.
Listening to you really makes me think very differently about the term sex workers. But you just mentioned briefly, maybe we'll move into there now, is about your community and what you do at the Safe House. So can you tell us a bit about that, like what your main aim is and what you provide at SAN?
Okay, Survivor Advocacy Network was established in 2009, It's all about the safety environment where sex workers can work,
Okay.
do their work, And our main focus is only health, because the
Right.
work that we do, it links to the diseases that's happening nowadays,
Right. The
especially
high
HIV.
risk, eh?
Yeah. So, Sen, one of their main focus is health.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
How we can take the information to the community that it's your work, it's your body, it's your pleasure, but this is the risk.
Yes.
That's why at the center, if you come to my center, there's two dispensers there. One is for the lubricant, one is for the condom.
Free.
Free, yes. Just to, let the community be safe with their work.
Right. Right.
But sometimes it's a challenge when people come in and say, oh, you encourage
Yes.
people to have sex. No, it's not.
Yes.
Because nowadays things change,
Yes. Yes.
in terms of the disease that's going on now, like HIV, AIDS, STIs. You have to be mindful that for us, nobody gonna say no to sex. Everybody enjoys sex. It doesn't mean that I'm a sex worker. Only me, I'm having sex. No,
Yes.
it's everybody.
Yes. Yes.
And not only us have to use condom.
Yes.
It's the risk too is from general public as a whole.
Yes. Yes.
We have to use condom. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
And this is an interesting point about the condoms and the comment about encouraging, because when I first came in, I had to work that out for myself as a follower of Christ. I think quite often as the church, we distance ourselves from these spaces because we feel like that's not of God. You guys need to sort yourself out. I've got comments saying, just go and they need deliverance and all that sort of thing. So I had to process that myself. But I understand after, again, just, observing and trying to understand the work you do, I realize if you don't give them the condoms, it's not like they're going to stop going out.
yes.
They are going to continue. They are just going to be unsafe. So the work that you've been doing is not only, keeping you safe there, but I've noticed, and Bui hasn't mentioned this, we might talk about it a bit later, is that also for those who kind of want to, start to come out or do something else, Bui is ready to be like, okay, what can we do? So that's a good ending to the story, I suppose. At the end of the day, we would love for them to be able to come out and earn income in other ways so they don't put themselves at risk, so they can protect themselves. And, like we've talked about, so much trauma comes with being on the street, with the clients, with others. There's a lot of violence there as well. So before we just get to that, I wanted to ask you, you've shared your story of how you got out on the streets. And I read the UN AIDS report that you gave me, and interestingly, it says that the majority of sex workers are not just to earn income, but it's following friends. Nawe muri.
Yeah.
And so your situation, that's exactly what happened in your thing.
Yes.
You weren't struggling to put food on the table, you were still a young person. So of the ones that are coming into the safe house now, like now we're in 2022 compared to the 90s, what are some of the reasons that you've heard of why they are coming out on the streets? Is it the same or is there?
Well, there's a lot of reason why. Some they brought up in a wealthy family.
Right.
Yeah. Some because of the poverty level. But the main root of these young kids coming to the sex industry sometimes is about abuse. Either it's sexual abuse, or physical abuse, or emotional abuse, or verbal abuse.
Yes.
That's why they started to come out and and
Yes.
do sex works.
Yes.
Another thing too is, like for us, sometimes when you financial problem at home, and your parents can't afford to buy, then you, in a teenage, you need to buy other things,
Yes.
and you can't afford it. So that's another reason why people are coming out.
Yes.
Yeah. Or even you have a lot of kids, and your parents can't afford to pay for all what you
Yes.
want in the family.
Yes.
So they started to come out and
That's right.
do sex work.
Yes.
For
A lot of
living,
different reasons,
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, but it's
But some they just enjoy. Like I said, they
Right.
just enjoy the autonomy of it. Like for me,
Yes.
yeah. I enjoy the drugs. I enjoy the money is there.
Drink.
Yeah, the drinks.
Yes.
Yeah. But not really coming out to do sex works every day.
Yes.
It's just the social
Yes.
setting. Yeah, where you
That's it,
come and
yes.
meet your peers and
Right. Yes. And I was going to say, I noticed that too. Like that's a community on its own. So all of these who have been abused, and similar to your story, you suddenly find a place where there's other people like you that have been abused, that have their own stories, and so you form your own community. And at the Safe House, I've seen, this community come together. Most of them are rejected by their families. A lot of those in the LGBTQ community. We have our transgenders. A lot of them just flock there, because there's been some abuse, and it's like this is a place where I feel like I belong. Yeah. So there would be still a lot of unresolved trauma, like we were talking about. Before we move on, I just wanted to, if you could just tell us a little about, you also do some work in the drugs prevention. So keeping them safe, but why bring drugs into it? Can you tell us a bit about the work you do there and why you advocate?
Okay, if you look at the sex workers industry, we use more drugs than alcohol. Because alcohol
You use more drugs than alcohol.
Yeah.
Is that been the same from the 90s, or is it?
In the 90s, there was no drugs like the drugs that are here.
Okay. So in the
The
90s
only
there was
drugs
only.
that we have during that time was only marijuana.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about glue that time?
No.
Not so much.
We only have benzene. I started off with benzene when I was young.
Okay.
When I knew that my guardian is not my real parents.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the things I use,
Right.
to take away those pain and those stress that I have, peer pressure.
Right.
So I sniff benzene.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would have been only what?
I was
15? That was before 18?
yes,
14,
14,
15. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nowadays
now-
it's different because the drugs, the other drugs is coming in.
Right.
Yeah, the white one,
Right.
Yeah. That one is, it sort of, can damage your life. It can, it's unhealthy. More into disorder.
Right.
We have a lot of disorder on that.
And so a lot of the money too coming in that you're earning is not going home for those who are, and feeding that habit,
Yes. For us, before, we do sex work as sex work.
Right.
We take money and we pay our rent and our
Right.
water, electricity, and those things. But nowadays, they just do it like, just to enjoy it.
Just to enjoy.
You have, you go out tonight when you have plenty of money. The first thing you buy is your drugs.
Well, that's hard. So what work do you do with drug-free?
Well, in 2018, the drugs in Fiji was,
Yes.
really in increase. So I was thinking of, start advocating for the drugs.
Right.
So we do
Say no
drugs
to
and
drugs.
awareness.
Yes.
You say no to drugs.
Okay.
Because for my experience, the impact of drugs, and I read it and I experience it, it's
Yes.
worse. Eh?
Yes.
It's gonna
And
be
you
worse.
see it, in your community. Yes.
Before only, when you 18 years, you take drugs. Eh? Now, you don't class anyone.
Yeah. Any age,
As long as you can buy it, you have it.
Man.
Yeah.
What is the youngest, just speaking of age, like what is the youngest you've seen come to the safe house?
Well, the youngest, around 14, 15. Yeah.
Yes.
But we don't allow them to come in. Eh? But like I said, if they have problem, we have the services.
Yes.
We have to help them.
Yes. Yes.
Inform them the bad of drugs, the impact of drugs.
Right.
What you can do to make a difference for your life.
Yes.
Yeah. But you can't be a sex worker for the whole of your life.
Yes.
Yeah. You need to look for other things.
Right. And this is from your experience, right? When you're in your 50s, then you realize, oh my
Yes.
goodness, suddenly you're in your 50s and it happens so fast, because you're having so much fun. And so I really admire you for that, for like trying to educate the younger ones. This is not going to last forever. So protect yourselves for the future. Eh? Even if they say you're enjoying it, well, you're going to school, just trying to help them realize your life will not be like this forever. Yeah? And what I've noticed and heard also is that the clients are asking for younger.
Yes.
And that's because the demand is there.
Demand
We're
is
talking about the sex workers won't increase if there's no demand.
Yes.
And that's like an issue we don't often talk about. We're always hammering the sex workers, but
Yes.
they're meeting a demand.
Yes.
And like you said, it's our locals.
Yeah.
It's our men, it's our women, it's our brothers and sisters,
Yes.
fathers,
Yeah.
husbands, sadly. And it's not, just one part of the community. It's all levels, eh?
Yes.
That's what, just hearing the stories of the girls is really sad. Because I also feel like the ones that should be protecting the girls are now the perpetrators. Yeah?
Yes.
And we see that in violence, in homes and everywhere. Yeah? That's the state of what we're in. So what kind of support is there available for those who want to end sex work? Because I know you do a lot of one-on-ones and we try and see what we can do, but like if we think about Fiji nationally, because we've got a lot of NGOs, we've got a lot of like setups. If somebody came and said they want to get out, is there any support that's a structured kind of support or program for sex workers who want to come out of the industry?
Yes, for me, I have a lot of ideas.
Yes.
What I can do. But the problem is financially.
Yes.
Yeah. If the money is there that can support the program that I want,
Yes.
then
Yes.
things can change.
Right. Because there's no structured programs,
Yes.
But it's the same with drugs. When they want to come out, like we've seen the girls, and there's where do you send them to? Because with the drugs, it needs proper rehabilitation.
Yes.
It's not, no matter how many conversations you have with them,
Yeah.
that's a different ball game altogether. And we don't have access to that. Yeah? So that means there's a big opportunity.
Yes.
There's plenty of work for us to do. Us to.
Yeah, of course, I wish it.
So what I wanted to mention also is, and Bo is right, like she has so many great ideas, and we've also been to Homes of Hope together to understand their programs. What we realize is that there are things and people out there already that we can leverage off. And, we need to get used to collaborating, instead of working individuals. But one thing we've done recently is the psychoeducation, because like Boy was saying, there's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of trauma that exists. So before people can really appreciate the opportunities or even think to get out, we need to do what we can to address that, to bring back some self-worth, start to deal with the hurt. So we did a 6-week program where we had some very kind counselors, professional counselors come in and give their time. And hopefully we can get something going for the next, just to be there. Because also with this community, it takes time, to just to gain trust because they've been hurt so much. So this is not like a, 2-week program and then go away and do. We need to really partner and get alongside, understand for people like me who are not from that community. What I've learned though is like, I can still be of use to you, even though I haven't walked the streets or been involved in that. And so I think we make good partners, we make a good friends.
Yes.
Yeah?
And I'm so thankful that I met you.
Oh,
and I know that there's none of, I'm not saying it, people in the high rank to come down to us and
yes.
start to, at least spend some time, have coffee and talanoa.
Yes.
Yeah. And the people just sit up there and just do quite work on their feeding in the street and stuff.
Right.
But I'm so thankful that you come into the office, sit down and talanoa to all of us and spend the rest of your days.
Yes.
Sometimes you always say, no, I have to go.
Yeah, husband is messaging me.
Visumona to me and...
This is a Vesumona one here. Sis, no talnachi. Okay, so after 5 cups of tea, we still talanoing. But I have to thank you because I've said this before, but you guys are a real gift to me because I don't know. I'm really thankful that you've allowed me to come into your space and just learn. And like I said, they answer the weirdest of questions for me because all of this is very new to me. And so thank you, Mbui, for your patience and thank you for everything you're doing in the community. You're just using your whole experience to really just give life to others. And I'm really looking forward for us to be working together for the rest of our lives to do what we can for these young people.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us on the show, Mbui.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this evening's show. There's so much more we could talk about with Mbui, but we have to say good night at this stage. If you know anybody who is in the industry or anybody that needs help, or if you are a sex worker yourself that feels like you could do with a community, you want to get alongside someone, please just reach out to us through Messenger. Just click on the message button and let me know and we will connect you. If you need help, psychological help, or you want to speak to someone, I always say this, just message us. And I keep on reminding people, don't worry, I'm not going to be doing any counseling myself because I'm not qualified, but I will connect you with the right people because there are a lot of people out here who would love to help. But thank you for joining us this evening. I will be posting a separate message, but we're going to be taking a little bit of a turn over the next couple of weeks, but keep an eye out for that. And again, if you are not following Liliana Pareti Warid page, public page, please follow because we share a lot of what we're doing in the community, what we're seeing, what we're learning. And if you want to contribute or be part of this, then just send us a message and we would love to have you on board. So until next week, Winakabakalevu, and I will see you here, same time, same place. Good night.
Life with Liliana and Friends.